Oh, Thomas, when will you ever learn? Hello there, and welcome to a very special edition of Chat the Chit. Today, I'll be answering your questions that you sent in, so grab a drink and let's have a chit, shall we? So I thought I'd start things off with a real heater of a question. I love this question. It comes in from Andrew, not me, different Andrew, but fantastic name. If you could be any Disney princess, which one would you be, excluding Star Wars and the Marvel Cinematic Universe? So let's just start out by eliminating the lame ones. Snow White? Sure, yeah, you conjure woodland beings when you sing, but I'm not trying to get a disease, so no thank you. Aurora? I mean, what do you do? What do you have going on for you? Nothing. No thank you. Cinderella? I guess you have like a fairy godmother. That's pretty cool, but nah. And Belle? I mean, I'm not a furry, so that's not gonna happen. I did consider Jasmine for a while. The idea of a pet tiger seems pretty cool, but unfortunately, Tiger King ruined all of that. Pocahontas was a contender there for a while. I live in pretty close to Jamestown, so she is a local girl. Gotta support my local girls, but you know, the idea of moving to England and getting smallpox and dying is not the best. Yeah. Rapunzel, even though I love the movie, Tangled might be my favorite Disney movie. All that hair, it seems like a lot to maintain, and then she loses it anyway, so nah. Ariel, mermaid living under the sea seems nice, but just remember, there's always a bigger fish. And then we have our two badass chicks. We have Mulan and Merida. I would put Mulan over Merida because I like Mulan and Brave was garbage. You know, Moana's a pretty decent option, you know, living on a tropical island. You have the ocean spirit as your friend, and also you get to hang out with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Pretty cool. But if I had to be any Disney princess, I would definitely be Tiana. I mean, you get to open your own restaurant in New Orleans in the 20s and watch the rise of jazz music. I mean, come on. That's pretty cool. Fun fact, I once had a dream that I was a Disney princess. It was like a Beauty and the Beast situation, and all the inanimate objects were alive and walking around and helping me. And I had this clipboard that was my assistant, and I had an affair with it. And then it died. So I don't know what that was about. Yeah, true story. John wants to know, what do I miss most about New York City and what do I miss the least? So I did live in New York City for 5 years. I lived in Brooklyn, and it was definitely an experience. I would recommend it to anybody, but don't do it until you're at least into your mid-20s. Don't go early. Figure out your life first and then go once you've settled down a bit. So I miss a lot of things. I would have to put at the top of that list are my friends. I made a lot of great friends out there and I miss them a lot. I don't really keep up with my friends too much. It's a problem I have. I've done it with my friends in Texas, my friends from Virginia, and also New York City. I'm just bad at keeping up with people, but I hope they know that even though I don't keep up with them, I still care about them, and I love them. I also really miss my neighborhoods. I had some really great neighborhoods I lived in. I lived in Carroll Gardens for a while, and then also South Slope, and those are pretty nice areas. I just miss being able to walk around the neighborhood, see the architecture, stop by my favorite shops, you know, go to my bodega, talk to Sammy, see how he's doing, get a free coffee, because you go there every day. I also miss public transportation, believe it or not. The subways were pretty convenient. Now, what do I miss the least about New York City? The cold. It was too cold up there. I'm over the cold. Don't want it anymore. Also, the lack of room. You know, you're crammed in. You know, I had a dog. I couldn't. You know, I could take him to the park, but in the wintertime, it was hard to find space, close by to let him run around. And then also public transportation. It was awful. Matt would like to know, what was it like wearing a boat to school? So my school's mascot was the Clippers. Just a ship, a wooden ship, so we never really had a mascot. So for my senior year of Spirit Day, I decided I was gonna make the dopest, coolest wooden boat and wear it around, and I was gonna win Most Spirited. It weighed a lot, it really dug into my shoulders, I super regret it, especially given the fact that I didn't win Most Spirited. I mean, I wore a wooden ship, I became the mascot. Matt would also like to know, if there's ever a time that an animal ever just left me or run away from me. I mean, there's always examples of that. They're not huge deals, but one of my favorite stories is we had a blue and gold macaw named Mango, and he was sitting on the perch one day, and a guest came up and asked, "Hey, how come those parrots don't ever fly off?" And I went in this huge long description as to why they don't fly off, and as soon as I was done, Mango flew off. Cheers, Mango. I miss ya. Sparky asks, how many times have you been arrested? Unfortunately, the Bernie Corp team of lawyers have advised me not to answer that question. Jamie would like to know how to fold a fitted sheet. A lot of people have problems with this, and I'm glad you asked because I've been working on a technique that I perfected over the years. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find the corners of your fitted sheet. Make sure you find them. And then once you have them, you go ahead and you ball it up as quick as you can, you throw it in the linen closet, and you forget about it. Jamie would also like to know my thoughts and opinions on positive versus negative reinforcement when working with animals. So one thing people often get confused is they usually think negative reinforcement actually means positive punishment. Now that might sound weird, but really the positive and the negative in those phrases is just adding or removing a stimulus to the environment. Whereas reinforcement means to increase the frequency of behavior, whereas punishment means to decrease the frequency of behavior. So negative reinforcement is removing something from the environment in order to increase the frequency of behavior. A good example that happens in all of our lives is whenever we drive our cars and we sit down and we take off, if we're not wearing our seatbelt, that seatbelt light comes on. Bing, 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 bing. And then as soon as we put our seatbelts on, that noise goes away, thereby negatively reinforcing us for putting on our seatbelt. An example of positive punishment is instead spanking your children when they do something bad. I'm not saying do that, but that's just an example. So negative reinforcement isn't always a bad thing, but it's just way easier to use positive reinforcement. Give out treats, give a back scratch. Those things are much easier to add to the environment rather than to find something to remove. Claire would like a segment talking about animal facts and sounds, so let's do that. Today we're talking about the kookaburra. The kookaburra is a member of the kingfisher family found in Australia. It's the largest member of the kingfisher family, and it sounds like this. Allison writes, would I rather be stuck in a room with one 1,000-pound gorilla or with 1,001-pound gorillas? I think this is pretty easy. The 1,000-pound gorilla is definitely a problem and could easily kill me. Whereas the 1-pound gorillas, even though there's 1,000 of them, they're just going to be pretty much an annoyance more than a huge problem. Though I wonder if they would do that thing where like bees swarm other insects and rub their bodies real fat and cook them on the inside. I wonder if the gorillas could do that. Oh well. Susan would like to know, what's the best thing to come from COVID and the worst thing to come from COVID? Well, I had to think about this one for a while. It's a pretty deep question. I think the best thing that happened from COVID is we all learned to appreciate little things more, just being with friends, being with family, going outside, physical contact, those sorts of things. Also, I think it made people cleaner. We're all washing our hands more. We're more conscious of, coughing and sneezing on people. So, hey, that's a pretty cool. The worst thing to come from COVID is obvious, sickness, death, pretty bad. Businesses going out of business and people losing their jobs. Yeah, pretty awful. Hopefully this will be done soon. Get vaccinated. Susan would also like me to play some instruments and have a Name That Tune karaoke night. The Name That Tune karaoke night might become a stream idea, and as far as the instruments go, I am working on something for that. So it won't happen in this video, but something might be in the works. Kim wants to know, when did you lose your virginity? Who said I lost it? Tim asks, have you ever worked with wolves? Yeah, I have worked with wolves, Tim. Have you? Because I have. I don't know about you. Have you worked with wolves? Thaddeus writes, if you had 62 odds and ends on a table and 61 fall off, have you got left an odd or an end? And more importantly, how did you determine the answer? Well, the first thing that came to mind was obviously an odd, because there's one left, and that's an odd number. And it's not quite the end, because you can just pick up those odds and ends and put them back on the table. So, of course, the answer is an odd. Quentin wants to know, how much Doom did you play in order to know every secret? So if you didn't already, check out our Doom gameplay. So I have something to admit. I looked up half of those secrets on Google. I know, I'm a fake, I'm a fraud, but guess what? I did play a lot of Doom when I was little. In fact, to the point where I didn't know how to read because I had no idea what the menus said. I just knew the inputs. I would just be like, oh yeah, I can do this and I do that and I do this, and then the game starts. So I played it at a young age and I played it a lot. And I did know about half of those secrets, but the other half, I Googled it. Valerie asks, what or who is my favorite animal to work with? I would have to go with Animal from the Muppets. That guy can party. Megan wants to know, do you believe in ghosts or spirits? Justify your answer. Growing up, I was very into the paranormal. I did a whole project in 8th grade on the paranormal. It always fascinated me. But at this point, I don't believe in ghosts. You know, we would have evidence already, especially in this day and age where everything's being recorded and we have so much technology. I think we would have seen or heard or have solid evidence of ghosts by now. Liz would like to know, who were my top 10 favorite people to work with? You know, it's really hard for me to say this, so I'm just going to put a list up right here. Yeah, I remember working with him. He was crazy. Memories. But for real, I think you know if you're in my top 10 favorite people to work with, and you know if you're not. Kendall asks, Star Wars or Star Trek? How dare you? Kendall also writes, if people had tails, what kind would I want? I mean, that's easy. I would easily take a prehensile tail. I mean, why else would you have a tail if you couldn't use it to support your own body weight? Duh. Well, that's it for this edition of Chat the Chit. I appreciate everyone who sent in questions. If you have more questions, put them down in the comments below. I'll be answering them more and more as Chat the Chit goes on. I hope you guys are enjoying the channel. Again, more ideas and suggestions, write them in the comments. It's that simple. Just do it. Also, do you want to support the channel? Join our Patreon. You might see some names at the end of the channel. Those are Patreon supporters. You can join too, as easy as $1 a month. Don't want to support us financially? That's okay. Just be sure to like and subscribe.